Most people are just living their life in default and they're just kind of letting life happen to you. It takes a lot of effort to go against that and to actually live with intention, because you have to get very clear about what you want. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what they want.
Today's guests are Daniel and Paige Doherty. Daniel and Paige are the owners of Wander Tears, a handcrafted, custom-built teardrop trailer company, which also provides resources and DIY build-out plans for those looking to do it on their own. Daniel and Paige, along with their dog, Nola, are focused on helping others get outdoors affordably and comfortably. As you'll hear in this episode, they share the many lessons learned as they jumped into entrepreneurship, as well as how they were able to remain clear on the life they envisioned for themselves as outdoor entrepreneurs, and what they did to be intentional about making it happen. We also get into the dynamics of working and living with a partner, advice on traveling with four-legged fur babies, and helpful tips for those who want to travel more but aren't sure where to get started. So let's get into it. I'm your host, Liz Landine, and this is The Outdoor Entrepreneur. All right. Hi, Paige and Daniel. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you, Paige?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Super excited to have you guys here. You are the first couple I've interviewed, so I'm looking forward to this. And I guess actually that leads me to my first kind of area of interest before we jump into things too much on the business side. Let's start kind of a few years back. Pre-Wander Tears as an official business. I'm curious with how you first two met.
Well, we were both in Jacksonville. Danny was in the Navy and I was doing my master's. And we kind of met through a friend of a friend. It was like 5 friends removed. And one of the girls said that she was on this kickball team. And I'm very competitive. So of course I was all about it. I had just moved to Jacksonville a couple months prior and didn't really have like a group of people outside of the couple of people I was friends with at grad school. So I'm like, that sounds fun. And then later on in the night, she introduces me to this guy briefly. And of course, I'm like, if I'm going to play kickball, like we have to win. So I decided, what the heck, I'm going to join this kickball team. And then a couple months later, this guy is the captain. And we just kind of started.
Me.
This guy, you. We just kind of started being friends and hanging out in a group. And then I was irresistible. So
I love it.
Nailed it.
I love that you said, if you're going to play kickball, you have to win.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
And we did.
We did.
We were a ragtag bunch.
It was so much fun.
She was by far the best female on the team. And it was just caught my eye.
Awesome. So how did you get into it? How did you decide teardrop trailers was kind of your thing?
So I was actually living after Jacksonville. I moved to Idaho for air traffic control, which was my job in the Navy. I got out of the Navy, moved to Idaho. She was in Florida. So we were, a world apart. I had a few friends in Idaho and I went to it was on 4th of July. We went to a campground and I just brought my tent because that's what we do. And I'm in the middle. I set up this tent in the middle of a bunch of RVs, like 40-foot RVs and they all had their flags out and their yard ornaments. And I'm just like, what
Generators going?
This is not camping. So it was pretty bad. I had Nola with me. We ended up leaving at 3 a.m. because I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I was just like, we need something better. So I started researching different ways to camp and travel and without taking a massive camper, but I wanted something that was inside, kind of soundproof, I guess, comfortable, something we could take behind our truck, which led me down the rabbit hole of tiny campers.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been down that rabbit hole, so I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you ended up, at that point, did you decide you wanted to build your own camper? And so you just invested in one? How did you kind of get started with that?
So like he said, we were long distance at the time and he texted me one day, I'm going to build a tiny camper. Or I'm going to build a teardrop camper. And I'm like, what in the world is a teardrop camper? So I looked them up and then we just start kind of brainstorming what we would want in one. And Danny's really handy. So he's been doing woodwork, like furniture, and most of the things in our house he built. So he's pretty handy. Obviously have never built like a camper before, but yeah, we just did a lot of research. We initially looked at a couple different ones to purchase, just kind of shopping around, and everything was either overpriced or out of our budget, I guess, or underbuilt for what like the price range we were looking at. And we just figured we could build something like that, probably almost better. And we did a lot of research, mostly Danny. Danny did a ton of research. He learned CAD, all these different design programs, and we basically designed this camper for exactly what we wanted personally.
At what point did you realize you wanted to take it to the next level? Like, why did you want to create a business around it? Or how did that unfold, I guess? What was kind of the driving force behind shifting from kind of recreationally using this camper and being into the outdoors to then seeing it as more of a business opportunity?
Yeah, so I feel like it was kind of a natural progression. We loved being outdoors, and I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. So when we started, I struggled finding a good community to help build mine. And I spent about 6 months researching, all the different forums and everything. And eventually, finally got my own design. And I kind of stopped looking into forums because it was so overwhelming.
There's a lot of opinions out there.
Paralysis by analysis. Like, it was crazy. Like, you ask the question and you get 40 different answers, and then you're worse off than before you asked the question. So I found that kind of gap that I feel like people really needed filled with somebody who could create a community around something that is similar. So everybody's kind of building the same model, I guess, and all the answers are the same. Mm-hmm. It's what I would have loved to have had, to have a community help people build a quality camper. That was what I was looking for. It just didn't exist. So I think my entrepreneur spirit kind of decided I needed to fill that gap.
Yeah, I think so. We love the van life and the schooly life and all of those sort of accounts. We followed a lot of them. So initially, we were just kind of sharing our travels and teardrops in our teardrop and sharing like different campsites we went to and different ways we did things. And then it just we started sharing more about the DIY aspect, and people were asking us questions. So that just kind of led our business, kind of jump started it, I guess, into creating. We had the plans, like Danny had designed it himself, but putting it into a context that was step by step, easy to read, cutless, and basically just fast forwarding people's build process and cutting it down, half to even quicker for people who do want to build a camper. So they didn't have to go through all of the research, all of the learning of new programs and whatnot. And yeah, that's kind of the gist.
Yeah. Well, it's always a great business idea, I think, when you find something, right, that gap, and just kind of identifying like, what would I have liked to have had
exactly
when I was doing this? And I was in a very similar boat with what I do, and finding like, oh, I would love to meet me,
Yeah.
years ago. It would have been awesome. So that's great. So you identified a gap kind of where there was some need, and then decided you guys were the one to fill that, which is awesome. And I'm curious just if you have any thoughts, because it seems like, more and more people are interested in van life and camping and getting outdoors and all that good stuff. Why do you think that is?
One word: freedom.
Yeah, I think nowadays, there's so many ways to make money online, and a lot of people are kind of turning to that minimalist lifestyle. I don't know if it's because our generation, like housing and everything is so expensive that people are just, they don't want all the big stuff. They don't want to be tied down in one space. But for us, we would love to be able to travel full time one day. We're going through the steps to make that a reality. But yeah, to be able to travel, have low cost of living, and basically bring your home with you wherever you go, I think that's just the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly, I know for many people is, not for everyone, but I think even if they're able to do that part-time or just whenever they want, certainly provides a sense of freedom and flexibility and adventure and all that good stuff. So I see why it's a thing, and lucky for you guys, because that's really kind of what your business model is based on and can provide people. So maybe tell people a little bit real quick, just expand a little on your business. So what you do, you mentioned you kind of created resources and plans that people can buy if they want to build out their own. But what other parts of your business are there?
Yeah, so we have kind of a couple different sectors of our business almost. First off is the DIY portion. So we started as DIYers. And like we said, we want to help people, essentially us of the past, similar-minded people who are trying to, build these tiny campers and just help them to build it right the first time, give them the information they need. And one of the ways we do that is through selling our DIY plans. So we have our plans, which are step-by-step. The cut list basically turns the project into like a puzzle. So it takes all the guesswork out of it, all the measuring. And then we also have a Facebook community that people are a part of once they have those plans. So like Danny said, instead of having a ton of people building all different types of campers and whatnot in one place with different methods and everything, we have everyone building the same model or very similar model with the same methods that have been proven to work. We've improved them time and time again. And now we're to the point where we have people who have completed their builds. So it's not just us answering questions anymore. Now we have people who, have been there, done that, and maybe have insight from, where to get materials in different parts of the country. So it's really turning into a community, which is really cool to see. But yeah, so that's the DIY portion. And then we also do custom built teardrops. So this one kind of sparked, we had been planning on building another teardrop because we loved it so much and then selling it. And we actually had a family reach out to us if we could build them a teardrop. So we're like, heck yeah, we can. So we worked really closely with them and designed, it's the same model as ours, but we designed it a little more so for their family. So they're a family of 4. So the interior is a little bit different to accommodate like a bunk. And basically we want to bring that DIY creativity that people get to do, when they build their own campers and make it specifically for themselves to custom builds. So whether people don't have the space or the time or the experience, but they still want an affordable way to travel, we're able to provide that for those people as well through building.
Very cool. All right. So they can come to you for kind of full service.
Exactly.
If you want to build it, right. Build it out for them, or they do it themselves. That's awesome. So I'm a true believer in doing more of the things that light our soul on fire and that bring us joy and peace. And that if we tap into that and share it with the world, I think we're not only making the world overall a better place, but we can tap into creating a life by design and not default, and very likely create a thriving business from it if we so choose. Not everyone wants to do that. And I love it because that's exactly what you've been able to do. You kind of simply started out by doing the things you love to do. You shared it. You grew this, what sounds like a really great community, and then created a business around it. And it's a really beautiful, and I think a great example of what can happen if we take some time to get clear on what we want in our life and we get intentional about making it happen. So not just dreaming about it, but doing it. Can you talk a little bit more about this idea and share a bit about what it actually looked like strategy-wise to get clear on what you wanted and get intentional about making it happen?
Yeah. So one thing I love what you said is life by design and not by default. And I feel like most people are just living their life in default and they're just kind of letting life happen to you. It takes a lot of effort to go against that and to actually live with intention, because you have to get very clear, like you said, about what you want. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what they want. They know what they're expected to want, and they're manipulated kind of by society to either prove themselves or whatever it is, that they're kind of led on somebody else's path or whatever society wants them to be. So you really have to dig deep to find out what it is that you really want. And it's a tough thing to do. because you're told something else, So getting intentional about exactly what you want and designing the life that you want, you have to look out several years and try to picture it, which is difficult to do as well. But once you have that, you have to take action. And it's the hardest thing. And you're never going to be ready. If you wait to be ready, then you'll never start because something will come up. You'll always have an excuse. Something's holding you back. And if there is no excuse, you'll create something. So for us, it was the end of 2019, I believe. And we had this intention journal. So we said, 2020 is our year. We're going to start day one, January 1st, start writing our goals down. Every single morning we meet, write our goals down, and then talk about what we were going to be doing for that day and that week and set goals for 90 days out. And every single day we wrote them down, and it got repetitive. But once you start doing that, you see, if you make a plan for your entire day, you start to see like there isn't a whole lot of time, but you have to be very intentional with it. So eventually we started to see the results that we were looking for, and if we stopped writing things down, we would have stopped making progress.
Yeah, I think the action is the trickiest part because you set this goal that you're probably not going to achieve for quite some time. And if you aren't putting in little steps to get closer and closer to it every day, it's going to remain far away. It's like saying, I want to lose 20 pounds by this date. If you just focus on losing 20 pounds, but you don't actually do anything, you're not going to get there. But if you say, I'm going to run 2 miles 5 days a week for the next 3 months, and you give yourself that small action of running 2 miles a day, then you are going to slowly get towards your goal. And that's definitely been something that we've seen specifically through like social media, and then also just growing our Facebook community with people who are actually building from our plans, is we put in all of this time in these little steps where we really didn't see any result for a while because it's essential. But then all of a sudden you're seeing everything come to fruition. You're seeing everything come to life, and just all of that hard work just stacks on top of itself, but you can't quit. That's the trickiest part, because if you are not clear with what you want and you don't have your whole heart in it, when things get tough and you don't see the results you want to see, so many people just throw in the towel. And so by writing down your goals every single day, making goals for different time limits, it just really puts things into perspective, and it keeps you focused and at the forefront of your mind in order to live intentionally and to actually create that life by design and what you want to be doing.
Yeah. And another thing is having an accountability partner is huge because, or having a mentor, somebody that can hold you accountable and say, hey, did you write your goals down today? And that's been huge for us, because if it wasn't for Paige, I wouldn't have sat down and wrote down my goals every single day, because it gets so repetitive and you don't think you need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm a big goals person, and I love kind of thinking about that and writing it out and getting really clear on it. I think it's so, so important. But I have a mantra, and I know not everybody agrees with it, but it's dreaming isn't doing. And I like to remind people, well, there's an F word in there, but I won't say it. I'll keep it clean on this. So dreaming isn't doing. And I love that. There's just something about it for me, because I'm an action-based person. So it's about making things happen. However, I do always like to remind myself and others that the dreaming is equally as important, right? So when you're writing your goals down every day and you haven't achieved those goals yet, to me, that's dreaming, right? That's visualizing. That's getting really clear on what your intention is. So the dreaming is just as important, but the doing is, right? That's where you're really going to see the results that you want, because you're putting in the work and doing the things consistently and persistently that need to be done. And yeah, so I think that's all great advice. And thanks for sharing just kind of your strategy behind things. I love that you guys sat and every day wrote down your goals. That's really powerful, I think, to set your intention for the day and be really clear on that. So as you kind of pointed out, social media played a big role in things for your business. And it sounds like you've built this amazing community online, largely, through social media, Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff. So I have to ask for maybe some of your top social media tips, or what advice you would give for someone who's looking to start a business, or maybe they want to expand their current business and better tap into social media or utilize the power of social media better. What are your kind of top tips for using social media?
Really, the biggest thing that we've learned with social media, no matter the platform, is to have one thing. So whatever you are doing, every post, every video, everything needs to be focused around that one thing. So obviously for us, that's teardrop campers. So when we first started, we didn't have a very large following yet, but we had some really crazy pictures from out west. And we threw in a couple pictures that we thought were pretty cool, and they didn't have the teardrop in them, and they just completely flopped on our page. And we're like, what in the world? And then we posted a picture that wasn't that cool, but it had a teardrop in it, and it did phenomenal. So people come to your page to see whatever you're providing. And if you have a ton of things going on, it just gets confusing. So for entrepreneurs, focus on whatever it is that you are trying to provide people with, and make sure that everything is tied to that in one way or another. The second one is consistency. So you need to show up, not necessarily every single day. Social media can be a lot, and starting out, it definitely felt like almost a full-time job, because you're learning it, and it has a learning curve, and you're doing all of the things that you're supposed to do. But you have to show up consistently, or nobody's going to remember what you're doing. But if you're constantly showing up and providing information to people that's helpful, they're going to come back to your page and look for your posts. So that is super important. And then the last one is just to provide value. There's a couple different ways to provide value, and one isn't necessarily better than the next, but make sure you're either entertaining, educating, or inspiring. And it's perfectly fine to do all three of these. And you should do all three of these throughout your social media posts and everything. But make sure, again, that you're focusing on your one thing, and you're giving that value to people, because ultimately that's what is going to stick in their mind, and they're going to fall in love with you, fall in love with your products, and hopefully join your community.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I appreciate that you started with, pick one thing, because I know for me that can be really challenging.
Yes.
And for many people I work with, a lot of my clients, it's like, shiny thing syndrome is real, and it's all around us, and we're inundated with stuff. And especially with social media, and we're looking at other people's things and what are they doing? And it's so easy to get distracted and go down these rabbit holes and start chasing all kinds of things. And then we forget, oh, wait, this was my area I wanted to focus on to begin with. So I think that's great advice. Pick that one thing that you really want to focus on, and stay focused on it, and then be consistent with it. And we know with social media, that's the key thing. You have to be showing up. You have to be kind of front of mind for people. And again, something I hear a lot from my clients is, they don't want to overpost, and they feel like they're posting too much. And I have to remind them that you're assuming everybody's seeing your stuff every time you post. And more than likely they're not, either because of the algorithms or whatever it is, but they're probably not seeing most of your posts. So it's okay to, post a little bit more, post every day, put that stuff out there, and the people who want to follow you are going to follow you.
Exactly. Yeah. Consistency is super key. One thing I will note is to not be, is spammy a bad word?
No, that's right. That's what I would say.
If you have a product that you're selling, you don't want every single post to be buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. That is when people start to, instead of providing the information and showing how this product is going to change this person's life or make their life easier, make sure that you're still providing that value and not just promoting yourself, because that's how you build a community, right? We want to help other people to accomplish whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. Great. Yep. So provide the value. That's the third piece. Awesome. We're going to take a quick break, but I can't wait to learn more from our guests about how they live and love the outdoor entrepreneur life. You know how much I love making time for the things that bring me joy. It's literally a key reason why I created this podcast. It's also why I'm so passionate about doing things that make life easier and allow me to feel more organized, less scattered, and more in control of my time. Come on, doesn't that sound amazing? Well, one way I do that is by getting crystal clear on what I want and mapping out a solid plan of action to make it happen. And I love teaching the simple system to others. Whether you're an experienced entrepreneur or an aspiring one, I help people sort through all the shiny things and mental clutter to get massively clear to make it all happen. So if you're ready to move from dreaming into doing and doing it with ease and flow and organization, then I got you. Go to LizLeanDean.com as soon as this podcast ends to check out my services page, sign up for my monthly newsletter, or you can schedule a free 30-minute clarity call with me. And as a bonus, all podcast listeners receive a special 10% off if you use discount code OUTDOORS at checkout. All right, now let's get back into the episode. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. What's it been like building a business side by side, not just with your business partner, but also with your romantic partner? Like, I know there are perks. I know there are many perks, but I'm also curious on any challenges that maybe come along with it, and how do you make it all work? Who wants to answer that one?
Get the perks out of the way.
Get out of the way.
So anytime you're partnering with somebody, trust is the most important factor. And I think with a partner, that comes pretty much automatic as long as you trust them.
Which hopefully you do if you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the same intentions. We have each other's best interest at heart. And so that is just, I think, something that we almost take for granted, being able to have each other constantly through, all the highs and the challenges.
Yeah. Another perk would be that we're always together. So we can bounce ideas off each other and pretty much talk about business all the time.
Yeah, we definitely push each other. We challenge each other. And I think it definitely, we motivate each other. Yeah, we're better because of it, because we're both a little bit competitive and we expect a lot from ourselves and each other. So
yeah, taking it back a few questions. The shiny object syndrome
that's
is
me.
No, I was going to say is me. I've had several businesses, and it seems like every time Paige comes home, I have like a new set of tools that I'm going to start this new business, and she's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, this is
but with her, she keeps me focused on Wonder Tears, and she helps me there. Also, I guess the final thing would be our business is us. We're a couple that is relatable, I guess, and we like to inspire other couples to do kind of what we're doing and build a camper or whatever it is, go traveling. So I guess we have to be partners.
Yeah. One of the things that also helped our business a lot was we put our first build, like the entire time lapse of it on YouTube, like patched. The editing wasn't crazy. It was literally just like one scene after the next with like stock music, nothing fancy, but we got a great response from that. And I think we, like Danny said, we can relate to, or a lot of people can relate to us. So you have the men who look at the camper and are like, oh, I want to build that. And then you have women who are like, oh, look, she can build this. Like I can build a camper too. And then you have the couples who are, wanting to either travel or like have some sort of project to do together, because again, we're really fortunate. We work together. So we are seeing each other constantly, but not everyone is that fortunate. And maybe like a project like this or being able to travel is their means of, spending time together in their relationship. So yeah. I'm long-winded.
And moving on to the challenges.
We're always together.
It's not as bad as it sounds, but it just means we're always working.
Yeah.
we're always talking to each other about business and like different posts we can do or different items or different, like she's always asking me, have you
done this?
Done?
Have you ordered that?
So it's,
Yeah, it's definitely hard to have like a end of the workday, beginning of like home life. And I'm very guilty of it. Like we'll be laying in bed like at 10 o'clock at night and I start talking about something that's popped into my head. Like, oh, we should do this. So that's definitely a challenge, but I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. It means that we're excited about what we're doing, but it's definitely, we're in the early stages of this business, so it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of moving parts to keep track of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And as someone who I work from home, my partner works from home. We're kind of around each other all day, most days. Yeah. I get it. It's a beautiful thing. And then at other times, you kind of need a break. So cool. Well, I know also another kind of big part of your life and your business is your pup. So can you tell us a little bit more about Nola, what it's like traveling with a 4-legged fur baby? And for those that are listening and interested, do you have any tips for traveling with a dog?
Yeah, so it's definitely a different experience traveling with her and without. I think she makes the experience more fun, but you just have to prepare ahead of time and kind of know where dogs are and are not allowed. Like national parks, for instance, you can have a dog like in the campsite at most national parks and like around the visitor center, but you can't take them into the backcountry. And we love to hike. So we're currently planning our honeymoon road trip out west, and we're not going to be able to do as many hikes within national parks as we would normally like to do because Nola's going to be with us. But usually around national parks, there's national forests and state parks that are typically more dog friendly. So you just have to prepare ahead of time and know that information so you're not wasting your like travels trying to adjust to where they cannot go, and just be flexible. I mean, it's one of those things that you know that by bringing your dog, you need to care for them and put them as a priority and not just like shut them in the car for 4 hours while you go hike. If you have obviously a bigger RV or like a schoolie or something, like a cool space for them to be, it's not really that big of a deal. But for tiny campers, I wouldn't leave her in there. So yeah, just looking ahead of time and kind of knowing which hikes you can do and where you can go.
Cool. Those are good tips. Thanks. So kind of shifting a little bit again, I'm curious, what about your current situation? So, the dog being one of them, being able to travel with your fur baby, being able to work together with your partner. You've talked about a few of these things, but what about your current situation or your setup? Are you just absolutely loving right now?
The first thing that comes to mind is I quit my job.
Yeah, we haven't even.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
We haven't even really shared that with our community yet, which is kind of crazy because I think we're still a bit in shock. But
yeah, so I have what you would call a stable job. I was an air traffic controller for the FAA. Great benefits, Our
dads were not. They were like, he can't quit that job. The benefits are so good. The retirement is so good. Yeah. And Danny's like, I can't sit in this tower for 30 more years of my life.
Well, now that I'm working in the shop, it doesn't sound so bad. Yeah. But anyways, so I quit my job and that was a huge thing, in 2020 at the beginning, my New Year's resolution was to quit my job. That didn't happen, but in 2021, I said I had the same resolution and it came true. And it's when you say something to the universe, it happens.
And you write it down every day.
You got to write it down. But yeah, so that's really what we love about the situation. We make our own schedule, although we're working a lot more than I was. Mm-hmm. It's what we want to do. It's our schedule. That's probably the biggest thing we're stoked about right now is having the freedom.
Yeah. For sure, the freedom. So when I moved up here, like Danny said, we were far apart. He moved here for work and then I came as well. So I left my career in marine science. When was that? 2 years ago now, which I loved. I love coral restoration. Like I still one of my passions, but we always had this freedom thing. You know, we were trying to be financially free. And for a while we were doing real estate and wholesaling in real estate. And so I was kind of leading the forefront of that because I was home and able to do it more than he could, but it was definitely not our passion. And it's crazy how it's a great avenue and so many people are able to do that and gain that freedom that we were looking for, but we just didn't have that passion. So now having Wander Tears and having something that we love to do that still provides that freedom has really made the biggest impact in my opinion. Yeah.
It's like we're working more, but we're doing what we love. So it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
I love it. Yep. Entrepreneurship. You got to love it. Well, that's great. And congratulations again. I know that's a really big deal as someone who worked for 12 years in a 9-to-5 and kind of set a 12-month plan to leave my 9-to-5 and was able to do that 12 months later. But it took me a while to adjust to the fact that I was able to leave, and it was quite the transition period, but super, super exciting.
It really is. And it was very difficult to put in my resignation letter.
I bet.
It's funny because they didn't even really know how to resign someone because nobody resigned. They retire.
Yeah, they had to look it up and everything.
It took a couple of days to figure that out. But yeah, after I quit, it's kind of scary. It's still pretty recent, so still a little scary, but there is no other option. This is what we're going to do now. So
yeah. And I think that also, just like he said before, there's no perfect time. There's other people in a ton of different jobs that are always like, I want to leave this job, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And they just never do it because they're waiting for the perfect moment to do it. And we realize that there's no perfect moment. So we just, you jump in and burn the boats.
Burn the boats. Yeah. There's no turning back.
Congratulations. That's great. So I want to kind of flip the coin a little bit, since this show isn't just about, showing what's perfect. I don't want to just focus on all the rosy stuff. And, entrepreneurship, as we've talked about, it's ever evolving. We're kind of always expanding. And many times we're in the process of figuring things out. So let me ask you the flip side to that coin. What about your current situation are you wanting to improve? Maybe you're struggling with a little bit, or maybe you just want to take it to the next level?
Well, like you said, we are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we are in the figuring it out.
Yeah. I've always been an entrepreneur, but not the best businessman. So trying to figure out everything that goes into running a business. I can build things, but that's not running a business. So kind of the whole organization, setting everything up, having a strategy for the future. Those are things that in my downtime, I'm researching and trying to educate myself to be a better businessman, because I have the skills of, building and creating plans and whatever products we sell, but that's not everything in a business. So
yeah, it's definitely, it's a lot of work, and we're only two people. We're lucky that we're two people and not just one trying to do all of this, but we're constantly educating ourselves in new areas like marketing and how to, write newsletters and all of this, and web design and photography and all of these areas that we didn't necessarily have knowledge on before doing this. And then I think another challenge is, so before this, we were writing down our goals and having the future in mind, which we still do, but there's so much to be done in the current moment that it's almost like it's harder to plan ahead.
It's like we're trying to catch up.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah. So the next level, I would like to get more into YouTube. I have a couple of videos on there that have done well. We've been able to monetize within the first month, which is kind of crazy. And so I just want to be a YouTuber. It just sounds.
Oh my goodness!
I love.
Is that what you write down every morning on your goals?
We had some goals to reach certain subscriber levels, and we reached all those. But really, it's more about like putting content out.
Yeah, because
being consistent there.
Again, there's a lot of build content on YouTube, but the helpfulness and the quality of it isn't as streamlined as I feel like it could be. We have so much footage that we want to put on YouTube and tutorials and everything. And that's definitely something that we want to be doing.
Yeah.
But we're
and overcoming perfectionism is a huge challenge for us.
Yes.
Like we have so much video that we can put together, and it doesn't need to be perfect. Like the first video we put out, I think now has 500,000 views or something crazy. And it was not perfect at all. I put it together on my iPhone and it's done really well. So, I know that it doesn't need to be perfect, but I'm just, we're both perfectionists. So that's a huge challenge for us. And I know it is for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's something I've struggled with. And I know many, many people have. And I think it's so great, though, to look at what you've put out and how, you said it was kind of rough cut, not perfect, and all of the views it got. It's such an awesome example. And I think reminder to people of like, just put your shit out there, just get it out into the world and the rest will get figured out. So
right. Failing forward is what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So as we kind of start to wrap up the conversation, any final thoughts or guidance for those who want to travel more, or maybe they want to spend more time outdoors, but they're not sure like where to get started to make it a reality? Any advice?
If anybody's, wants to travel, but has any reason not to, you just have to do it. There's really no way else to put it. Stop making excuses for yourself and just make the plans to do it.
Yeah, every single trip that we had gone on before the teardrop, and then even after we had the teardrop, there were like a list of things we're like, oh, we need to plan this better, or we need to get this for the next trip. And it's really just kind of learning as you go, but you have to make it a priority. Like I think our first camping trip, I think Danny slept on a yoga mat, and we had like a Walmart tent, and I had like a hand-me-down backpack. And we backpacked like 15 miles with Nola, and it wasn't the most comfortable thing, but it was so much fun. And we were outdoors, and every time we just kind of accumulated gear and improved our situation, but it didn't stop us from getting outdoors and doing what we wanted to do. Again, this is one of those things where it's like, don't wait for it to be perfect. Just you're not going to regret going on a trip.
Right.
That's a great way to say it. You're not going to regret it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, where can people find you or find more out about you or follow you? Where do you want them to go?
So our main account, I guess, where most people reach us is Instagram. So that's just at Wander Tears, and that's WANDER Tears. We also have a website, wandertears.com. YouTube channel, Wander Tears, and also a TikTok and a Facebook.
Yes.
We're not so much on TikTok and Facebook as much, but so if you want to really chat with us, come to Instagram and we'll definitely talk to anybody.
Yeah, Instagram is definitely where kind of our hub is with our community. And we have people constantly just messaging us different questions about their build or how to get started or where to find different products for their build. And we welcome those questions. Absolutely. So like if anybody has questions about teardrops or teardrop camping or building or anything, definitely head to our Instagram and message us there. That's the best way to find us.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, as we close out, as you know, I'm a strategy and action coach. So I created this podcast not just to talk and dream about things, but to show people how they can combine an income producing job with their love for the outdoors and to see that it's possible, right? That anybody can do it, just like you, just like me, anybody can do this. So ultimately, I really want to inspire people to take massive action towards their own dreams and goals. So with that in mind, I'd love to close out with an outdoor action challenge. So what's one thing you want people to get out there and do in pursuit of their dreams and goals? So what's your outdoor action challenge for everyone?
So I would just say take a trip, plan a weekend. It doesn't have to be far. It doesn't have to be extravagant. find a state park or, local area and just go get into nature and turn off your phone. If you still have cell service, just turn it off. It's crazy how connected people are. It's a good thing, but it also it's hard to turn off, right? So with social media, it's wonderful. We can be connected with so many people from all over, but it can also be a bad thing because you're never just present. I feel like that's a big issue with a lot of people and a lot of like imposter syndrome and just like feeling like they're not good enough or they need to wait for the perfect time because they're seeing all these other people doing things they want to do and they think I'm not that person yet. So just take a trip, bring what you have, get a tent from Walmart and just get into nature and kind of disconnect and be present with yourself.
Definitely. And prioritize your experiences and memories with your family.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are either, I don't have time or I don't have money. Like money is just tokens. You just can get some more tokens. Like people put so much stress and there's so many things that you can do, especially outdoors that don't require a ton of money.
No.
And like what better way to spend your time than with people you care about in nature?
I love that. That's such a great reminder. Just prioritize your memories, your experiences with those around you. It's really, really, I think, a valuable piece of advice. So thanks for sharing that. All right. Well, this is the perfect place to close us out. We'll put all the ways that our listeners can learn more about you and your work in the show notes. And thank you so much for sharing your journey, Daniel and Paige. It's been a blast talking with you. Keep kicking ass and happy adventuring.
Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My goal as a business strategy and action coach, and why I ultimately created this podcast, is to inspire you to take massive action towards your own dreams and goals. So if you're enjoying this podcast and you find the content valuable, like, subscribe, or follow me wherever you get your podcasts. And I always love hearing from my listeners, so please leave a review. And until next time, be sure to live life on your terms. And if you're not, make a plan and make it happen, my friend. Adventure awaits. Thanks for listening.